It's all in the bag. This is the Enlightener in the bag. I'm going to take it out and show you in a moment. It comes with this little guidebook. It's a guide to your Enlightener. And there's a lot of important information here. So that in and of itself is good to get your hands on. And everybody gets one. So what you'll find, what's super exciting about this is it's so compact. This is the whole unit. You can take that anywhere in the world. I mean, that's like, not going to take up much space in your suitcase at all. It just coils all up so nicely and neatly. So there's two connectors, two cable connectors. And you can figure out which one works for your bathroom at home, and I would take both of them with you when you travel. This is called a universal adapter. It's going to connect to your faucet. But even though it's called a universal adapter, it doesn't adapt to everything. It's not as universal as it would like to be. But it is universal to a degree, so we include it because it will attach to a lot of sinks. Okay, so you attach this, and then you've got this water tube. You turn on the tap, the water comes through, and I'll show you the speculum in a second. If this one doesn't attach, or if this one attaches better, then you use this one. So with this attachment, you're just going to, there's a threading inside your faucet. You're going to twist it, and then this is going to twist inside instead, and it's going to be the carrier of the water into your speculum. The speculum is a very, very special device. It's a medical, surgical grade speculum. It's our mold. We have a special mold for it, but it's based on the ideal workings of a speculum. But I do have a mold here in South Africa for its manufacture. So this is what the speculum looks like. This is what's called the obturator, and the obturator is what makes this nice, smooth entrance into your rectal cavity. What you will do is this will attach to the sink, or this will attach to the sink, whichever one you choose. And then you'll, at the end of it, this is called the water tube, and it will attach here into the handle of the speculum. And you would want to warm this up so that it basically hugs right onto it. It attaches very, very easily. And so the water goes into the handle of the speculum and sends the water into your intestine while you simultaneously have the waste, and by the way, you take this out after you put it in. So this goes in, and then you take it out, you put this in the sink, and then here we have a viewing tube. This is the viewing tube, and this is the waste tube. This is where the waste is going to go out of the body. It attaches here like this. So basically, you've got this on a stool, and this is going in your rectal cavity, and then this is attaching to the sink. And it's literally as easy as that. And then you just squeeze the tube, and you do little holds of the waste tube, and that enables the water to go further up into your large intestine, and it's called doing holds. And it reconstitutes the waste matter in the large intestine. As soon as the waste matter is reconstituted, it wants to leave. It has kinetic energy. The water makes it kinetic, and it starts to leave, and it leaves through this tube, and you can see it with your own eyes. No hypothetical, theoretical. It's the you know what coming out of you, and it will pour and pour and pour out of you, and you will get healthier. The degree to which you release this waste, the degree to which you'll get healthier and leaner and stronger, and your physical integrity will be restored. So basically, the water is going to continuously flow in while the waste is continuously flowing out.
So the pressure automatically, so you can't overfill or sort of like
no, unless you hold this for way too long.
Yeah.
But you have to hold it for a little bit to get it to go. In the large intestines, there's quite a ways it needs to get around.
Okay.
So you do pulses, and you do fairly long holds and short holds, but unless you hold it and don't let go of it, there's no problem. So yeah, so this is this very, very simple little unit that is so it's I call it the invention of the Millennium, because without this, there's no way to get healthy. Without this, there's no way to turn everything around. You're on the fast track to decay if you don't release the waste. And there's no two ways around it. There's no way to get the waste out other than that way. Eating healthfully is also kind of arbitrary in our world today. Like, A lot of people think they're eating healthfully when they're eating so much acidity, they don't even realize that what they eat is acidic. Like, for example, people think that peanut butter is healthy. And in most fitness magazines, they'll tell you to have like, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter and like a low-calorie diet. People think skim milk is healthy. They think, I don't know, all sorts of things are healthy that aren't. Most people even think that brown bread is whole wheat bread or whole grain bread. Unless it says whole grain or whole wheat or whole rye or whole spelt, it's not. But for example, in South Africa, what you wind up finding mostly is, well, almost exclusively, is darkly colored bread that has nothing to do with anything whole. It's refined and darkened, so people think it's like a health bread. The idea is that we have to take our internal cleansing into our own hands, and we can. And one thing I like to remind people of all the time is that instead of poo-pooing colon cleansing, we should be so grateful that there is a way out, because otherwise we would be doomed and we'd have to live this life saturated in the waste that we put into it when we weren't aware, which makes it so much harder to overcome addiction. So for example, if you're tissue cleansing, if you're pulling all this waste out, you're pulling all the things that you were addicted to out. So you're going to be so much less inclined to wanting them. It's so liberating. If you're doing a 6-day juice fast, use it every day, because you're awakening. You want to release everything you're awakening. You don't want to miss a moment. You'll just pour and pour and pour. It's just wanting to come out. The second it gets awakened, the second the alkalinity hits the acidic waste matter that's deep in the tissue, it invites it out into the center of the intestine. So it comes into the center, you want to release it. Anything that comes to the center, you want out. As long as it's leaving, you keep on using it, because that's going to be your repair. The second the waste, as soon as the waste leaves, that space is filled with intelligence again. That space is filled with the life force, and that repair does all the repair work. It basically turns back the clock, and so everything that was ailing you won't have to ail you anymore. So why wouldn't you keep it coming, as it were? But it's the way out. It's the way of the future, and it's funny. It's the way of the future, but it was the way of the past. This was it's just what what you're seeing right here is a bunch of metal and rubber, but what we're using the metal and rubber for is water. We just need to use all of this so that the water gets to where it needs to go and empties us cleanly and easily. The great thing about this is that there's no mess. But ultimately, it's a clean system. It goes right into the septic system and out. You never have to. It's like having a movement into the toilet, but there's just a place where you're standing in between. But this is carrying it out for you. Really, all this is about water. It's just about, because what happens when the water hits the dry tissue, it makes it kinetic. It hits the dry waste in the tissue. It makes that waste kinetic. Otherwise, that waste won't move. People will know the term peristalsis. Peristalsis is that muscular contraction that happens in the large intestine when in the small intestine, in the whole intestine, when the waste is moving through and wanting to move through. So dry waste will not encourage peristalsis. Only wet waste will. So the second, when the waste is saturated, it is reconstituted. We use saturation a lot. So the waste saturates the tissues, but the water saturates and reconstitutes the waste. And then when that waste is reconstituted, it's got movement, it's got kinetic energy, and it wants to leave, and the peristalsis kicks in, literally gets the waste kicking out. So, and that's when you want to be able to have it all ready to go. So the water goes in, reconstitutes the waste becomes kinetic and wants to leave, and then this helps it leave. It's so seamless. The degree to which you release the waste will be the degree to which you feel energized. So if you release a huge amount of waste, you're going to feel hugely energized. If you take in a lot of water and you don't release a lot of waste, which is not usually the case, but it occasionally can happen because maybe you didn't want to hang out as long as you needed to get the waste moving, you might feel a little dip in your energy, but the beauty of it is that you've gotten all that water in there, which is going to enable your system to, as soon as it gets the message, the waste will leave, and then you'll feel so much better. If the water gets up there and gets to do its work, you will eventually feel so much better.